All right, guys, welcome into Valuable Coaching. Kevin and I are here today just kind of talking about high school sports. We were discussing it before we got on, and we're excited here in California, San Diego area. Sports are getting started, and Kevin's really dialed in on the volleyball scene because he's a head coach for the boys team at Bishop's High School, and he's an assistant now for their girls varsity team as well. And so I just wanted to let him kind of start off and let us know what he's seen so far as to how they're trying to get volleyball and other sports going here down in the Southern California, San Diego area.
Yeah, thanks for this great idea, Coach Miles. And I think it originally started with football, and I can't speak specifically the ins and outs of that. I was just on the outside looking in, but football kind of got it together, and then all of a sudden it was just cool. And this, and our viewers know this in the volleyball community. We have extremely intellectual coaches. We have driven coaches in this country. And it was just really, really cool that a bunch of high school coaches, the high school coach at Ramona High School, the coach Dave Savage over at Sage, they really spearheaded it, and they wrote a ton of emails and got us all on Zooms, and we just got to talking, all these. And what's unique about San Diego, I think, is there's so many districts. There's the Poway district, there's the San Diego, there's the Grossmont district, then you got the private schools, the Bishops and the Pacific Ridge, and it was really cool to see them come together. It's pretty wild, though. I've been to a few high school practices already, and it's just like, fasten your seatbelt, put on your helmet, and let's go. But it's funny too. You learn something every day. I believe the Ramona head coach, that all great roads lead to Pacific. I think she played for Pacific for John Dunning, and she's spearheading this. So
that's good.
Kind of cool. So I think we're gonna get, I hope, a season. It's for girls. I think it's only going to be like 30 days and real quick. I think the boys will get a little bit lengthier of a season because they missed their season last year and this year. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know out here in East County, people were so excited to get started the minute they heard it. I know high schools like Valhalla, the day basically that they said they could start, they had people in the gym. And I was getting messages because I had been the JV coach at Steel Canyon. And I had people messaging me like, well, Valhalla's back already. Why aren't we in the gym? And it's just like there's so many logistics. I think this also lets us realize kind of why sports are spread out throughout the year, because there's just not enough space for all these sports to be happening at one time. And like you said, it's hectic. People are bouncing all over the place. And, depending on your high school setup too, the amount of space you have makes a huge difference. If you got two gyms, you can maybe make this work. If you got one gym, you're cramming girls volleyball, maybe badminton or gymnastics, basketball, girls and boys basketball, boys volleyball. They all got to try and find their time. And so it's just, it's pretty wild, but it is exciting. And I hope it can, I hope it can happen. Not, mainly for those, especially those seniors who, will have completely lost out if they miss out on it. And, some of those boys who missed out last year would miss out on it completely for, the last 2 years. So hopefully we can make it happen.
Well, also too, to count in their JV and freshman teams. Right. So like you're naming all those teams. They also have JV, freshmen. And
yeah,
I'm curious. I mean, I can speak on behalf of kind of the private schools in North County, but I did talk to the Valhalla coach. I know what they're doing at Valhalla, but have you had heard anything down in the, East County schools, what they're doing for testing? Because I know that that's been a buzz going around that these student athletes have to be tested, and then they have to clear before they can play, which is a daunting task at the high school level.
Yeah, no, I mean, I haven't really heard that. It definitely seems like, you kind of have to take the big leap into having practice and then creating a schedule, and then they're kind of going from there. And, whatever they're told, yeah. I think they'll try and meet those criteria. But, I think the biggest step was just to let people know that, hey, we want you out here. We want to make a team. And then, we'll figure out from there. One of the last updates I got was just how they're trying to figure out, spectators. Because, frankly, high school sports is obviously a lot different than even college athletics, where, if you're on a freshman team, your parents are bringing you there, and they're not going to just go sit out in their car while you play your match. That's just not really the way it works. And especially for girls volleyball, the parents are extremely involved. I haven't been around boys volleyball as much, but I know as a player when I was in high school, the crowd size is definitely not as big. And, sometimes that even included parents, but, so I think that's another big hurdle too, is just how do you allow the parent,
Yeah.
if at very least the parents to get in there, but it's also a point of pride for the schools. You oftentimes want to be able to allow students to get in there and watch too and see their friends. So how do you find a balance of
Yeah.
that, and can you make it work?
Well, the meeting I was on last night, some of the ADs are really dialed in, like East County, North County, and it's the public schools are finding universities that have tested and what they're doing, and they're encouraging other schools to do it like they're doing, which is cool. So there's a lot of great leadership going on that I can see when I'm on these like coaches meetings that I have to attend. The private schools, many of them are already doing it, so I believe that they'll be fine. To answer your question, or to chime in on your uh, fans, I've heard a lot of things, and that's what's so fascinating about San Diego. It's very unique. It's a huge area, but in volleyball, we're so connected from Poway to San Diego to the privates to East County. All us coaches are friends. We all work together. And I heard that some districts and some programs are like, yeah, we're going to let 2 parents per student athlete. I also heard some schools were like, absolutely not. We're not letting them in. We're not going to control, like, if it's a soccer game, if they're standing outside the fence looking in, but we're not letting them on campus. I think that there's hope if this continues to go down the road. We can get some fans in the stands, and spread them out with masks on. But it's very interesting to me, Coach, because I feel like the NCAA had a really long time to plan for this, and the basketball, and there's a little bit more funding in that,
Yeah.
big high level NCAA. And this Friday, apparently they're coming out and they're like kind of reconvening, and some coaches are preparing. Sadly, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but some coaches are prepared that they'll just say, no, we can't do this, And if a district like San Diego school district, if they say no, that's really hard for all these other schools to pull this off, because there's so many schools in the San Diego. And then on the private school side, you can't run just a private school league, in my opinion. You maybe, but I don't think you're really allowed to, because you need things to be equitable, and fair, and you can't just have the private school kids playing in a league and no one else. So I still
Yeah.
don't think we're out of the woods, but we're not yet. We'll see. But we
Yeah.
are practicing. That's a good thing.
Yeah. No. And again, I know how excited, kids were and families were to hear that it was back. And so, I hope for their sake that they can make it work. I hope too that some people will be brave enough to say, hey, you know what, we got to try and do everything we can to make this happen, because these kids really, they deserve this opportunity. And I think it's been shown that it can be done safely. You just have to be smart about it and allow people some choices around how they make, those decisions. So one thing though I'm excited about is, I think coming up, you're really dialed in on the boys side, and we both can kind of explore the girls side of San Diego volleyball, and we'll see how it goes this season. Like you just said, it's a quick season. It's going to be, maybe 8 to 10 games at most, probably, for a lot of these teams. But we're going to kind of start talking about the top schools in San Diego County, and giving some rankings and talking about those schools. And hopefully we can talk to some of their coaches and maybe even some players too, and get their take on why they're being successful. But I know that's something I'm looking forward to, that we're going to start trying to do.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. It was your idea. I dig it. And I think everyone's a winner in that. I think To be brutally honest, I think San Diego, and I'm a San Diego guy now, I think we're maybe a step or two behind, like, Orange County and Redondo, area, and those, and not, and don't get me wrong, we have very talented kids. They go play D1, but generally when we go play those teams, they get the best of us. Not in all cases. So I think any exposure that we can just kind of highlight teams, highlight rankings, and then I think it'll be fun too, because we may be wrong on some of them, and that's the beauty of rankings. And but yes, I'm also excited too to talk about those Division 4, Division 5 teams if we can, the powerhouses that are just, I love those teams that I see at those divisions and they're up and coming, and you can see maybe they hired a new coach, and because sometimes a lot of the open and Division 1 programs get a lot of the love in the rankings, and hopefully we can spend some time highlighting some of the other divisions too as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, especially for boys volleyball, the size of your school or the division you're in doesn't necessarily matter. I think a lot of times it just matters who you get to show up to play and how good your coach is. And you can compete with almost anybody. It can be tougher on the girls' side because, I don't know how many boys you've seen try out for a high school team, but on the girls' side, for freshmen and JV, you might have 60 girls trying out. But, I know even just trying to run a small team through my middle school, it's hard to scrape together 8 or 9 boys that even just want to play, let alone whether they've played before or, have any skill level that you have to work with right off the bat. So, so I think that's a cool dynamic of the boys' side for sure.
Well, what's fascinating, I believe, and I've been involved in the San Joaquin section up in Stockton. I was a high school athletic director up there. And then I've been involved in the Southern section when I was a high school student. One thing I really dig about San Diego is we are our own section. So when we do championships and stuff, like, we're a big enough area where we just all do it. So why I like that is we have different divisions, we have different championships. A lot of these coaches, like I said, know each other from the East County, from North County, the private schools, whatever. And how they do it, it's so cool. Like, traditionally back in the day, like a school like Bishop's where I'm at, we only have 200 boys. So I'd be in Division 5 every year. And right now, to be honest, if I was in Division 5, chances are pretty high that we would be in the finals every year or winning it every year, which is cool. But what they do is they have that sliding scale every 3 years. And and Bishops and Pacific Ridge and schools like that have smaller enrollment, but they have a lot of kids that play club, we're right on that fringe of Division 2, Division 1. And once you get in Division 1, you can qualify for the Open. So my point is, it's like, if you plan on being a high school coach at this school for a while and you plan on building something special, you can really just go up those rankings where, like, in NCAA, you're the division of what you are. Like, that's what you are. And also in other sections of CIF, it's the same. Like, it's based on enrollment. And San Diego doesn't do that. I think it's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, it was something that was completely new to me. And I think it's a great way to do it because I went to a very large high school, but we were more rural. And we didn't have a lot of opportunities for club and even like AAU sports for basketball and some of these other things. If you did, it took some money, it took some extra driving and some extra resources. And so not everybody even had that opportunity who maybe would have wanted to take it on. And so, but you're always Division 1, and you never got moved down or up depending on how well your team was doing. So, for certain sports it didn't matter, but for other sports it certainly did. And I thought that was awesome when I first got back into coaching high school here to see, like, oh, wait a minute, this club or this school was in our division last year. Why are they not here anymore? Oh, well, they had a tough last, few seasons. And so they moved down, which is kind of nice because even for those teams that are losing, eventually you're going to kind of be able to level yourself back off and figure out what to do and, maybe rebuild. And like you said, it's awesome to reward programs that continually, keep doing well to move up, like you said, so that you can get a little more recognition, play a little bit better teams. Because, like you said, if you're on the bubble of Division 1 and 2, and you got a small school from East County maybe, or further out in San Diego County that's got a boys team, you're probably not wanting to have them come out to your gym so that you can just get an easy W, or drive all the way out there to play them. But if they know they can be moving up, then you're maybe more likely to take that on. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. What I like about it too is like it reminds me of like the BCS football, with their numbers. Cause like honestly, like when I got hired to be a head coach, like I'm not gonna lie, I knew nothing about it. And it wasn't my job yet to know anything about it. But once I like started studying it, there is an art to scheduling, because if you have a good grip on the county, you could be like, all right, this team's going to win a lot of games. They're actually a lower Division II team, but they're going to, by the time the season's done, they're going to be one of the top Division II teams. And there's, like I said, an art to it. And you're trying to get as many points that you can get because it affects your seeding in the playoffs if you're a playoff caliber team. And then if you do it right, you can get a ton of home matches. Like that's another thing too. Like San Diego rewards that. Like if you do your schedule right and you set up everything right and you win a lot of games, you just get home game, home game, home game, home game in playoffs. And like, I kind of like that, because there are more coaches often than not that do what I just said and they really study it, but there are, it is what it is. There's some coaches that are just like, let's just roll out the schedule, see what happens. And San Diego tends to reward those programs that really have thought out their schedule. And so it's fun. Hence why I want this season to go. Right now I'm sitting there looking, and even though we're doing COVID and we got to do all this, and it's all about the kids just playing, and I think more than ever, just getting them on the floor and competing. I get that. I don't want to shy away from that.
Yeah.
But if there's whistles in the ref's mouth and there's a ball and we're competing, we might as well try to win, too. So I think there's still going to be that art to the schedule a little bit too. So I'm really looking forward to it. Fingers crossed that it happens. And I actually think will be a good source of coverage if we continue to do what we say and just kind of highlight some teams and go over weekly top 10s. And we can also just do that on our Instagram too, as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely will. So I want people to be looking for that. And to go back to that just real quick with the rankings, I think football is always kind of the big sport. Like you said, it was kind of the driving force behind things getting started, but I really like it for football in terms of, how you can move up and down divisions, because it does reward schools that are really good at football, an opportunity to really play the top other high schools around. You're not stuck kind of back playing just other small high schools. So it's, in that aspect with it being kind of the biggest sport driving a lot of stuff. I think that rankings, and moving up and down divisions is a great way to go about it. And it would be nice to see other places adopt that more. And I'd be curious really to know if other states have systems like that, or how unique, San Diego really is.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I honestly have had some really good discussion with a ton of coaches about it. And the only flaw I had is like, what if all of a sudden you got maybe a transfer, or a few good freshmen, and you were in Division III, and all of a sudden like you were just powerhouse, because those things happen.
Yeah.
Then I thought about it. I'm like, look, then just win your division.
Yeah.
And like sometimes you might have a really senior heavy team. You might win the division, go to Division I, and then all your seniors leave, and you might have a tough year. But like, it's like, what's unique though too to mention, you can look at your season so many different ways. Like you could have, I like to look at them in 3 parts. Like I'm like, all right, we got our non-season, and that's at the beginning of the year. We got our season. What's fascinating about the division that my team's in, they're all in different divisions. Like Santa Fe Christian is Division IV. We're Division II. Pacific Ridge at one point was Division I. We were Division II. Santa Fe was Division III. And then our conference, when we've been fortunate, we've had a lot of teams go to the CIF finals for Division II. So my point is like our division's our conference is very competitive. But what's cool too is like someone like Santa Fe can play us, and then they can go to Division 4, and then we can like root with them like crazy when they make the playoffs, so it's like, maybe Santa Fe in our conference, maybe their goal isn't necessarily to win the conference every year, because they're like, look, we got Pacific Ridge, they're Division 1, but we're going to do our best. We're going to get better through conference, and then we're going to get placed in the Division 4 playoffs. So I kind of think there's a lot of ways you can look at how we do it. And if you don't like a certain way what's going on, just like, then try to win your league, Santa Fe, and then try to prove that you're a Division 1 team.
Yeah.
Or if that's too hard, then go win Division 4 playoffs. So I think there's a lot of different ways to have success and push success. And that's why I think it's so cool. So,
yeah, I mean, I think it's a nice rewarding factor that you have kind of lingering out there. And like you said, it does make coaches who really want to have that as a motivating factor think about their schedule a little bit, and not just, kind of anybody who calls them say, sure, we're going to play you. Think it out a little bit more.
Or just play this school that's 5 minutes away.
Yeah. And there's something to that too. It's like, nice to build some rivalries that are close, but it's also good to go to different parts of the county. And, one of my most memorable games was going up to a school in North County, my first year coaching JV, and just kind of the different atmosphere. They seemed so much more. I mean, we had great fans, and it would be full with like parents, but not always a lot of student spectators. But man, we went up there, and this is just a preseason out of league game, and JV and freshmen playing, and there were a lot of students in the stands as well as parents, and it was a lot of fun to be coaching and having those girls play in that environment. It's different than kind of having your parents and a couple friends sprinkled in there and the varsity team kind of cheering for you. You had they had actually like a big group of fans there really going after it. So
there's something about, club, there's an advantage. I'm a club coach too. You get to travel, you get to go on planes, you get to play the best teams in the country, some of the best coaches. Like, that's really cool too. There is something though about high school where you have this like community, and these kids have gone to school for 4 or 5 years. They've gone to middle school, and the families go on vacations together, and they're really, really good friends. And then you got this like whole like tradition, of the school. So anyways, I'm really looking forward to it. I hope it's a go. And I'm glad we're going to cover some of the high school season. That'll be fun.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, cool. Well, thanks so much for being on, today. And I'm glad we can make this work, and we'll get this out there. And look for more information on Instagram about San Diego volleyball, and we'll try and keep you guys updated with, COVID. Kevin is right there in all these meetings, and he'll keep passing along information that he can. And, again, we're on Instagram at Valuable Coaching, YouTube, subscribe to us on Valuable Coaching, and you can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And we look forward to bringing you guys more content next week.